Hi, welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to talk you through all of my TV show and movie recommendations for autumn. But I filmed this a couple of weeks ago, and then when I was editing my whole book, TV show and film video, I noticed it was too long. So I'm doing a new intro and outro for the TV show and movie part of this video. The first part has come out already, came out last week on Friday. You can always go check that out first or after this. But I actually want to thank everyone that has watched that video already. It has had a lot of love and I'm very excited about that. And yeah, I really hope you enjoy this one. So let's get into Leonore from the past. And I hope you enjoy it. But let's start with TV shows. And the first one, it has to be, I've been rewatching it. I've rewatched it like 3 times, even though it's a relatively recent show that only started coming out 2 years ago, and that is Only Murders in the Building. This has to be one of my favorite series ever. It's perfect for autumn. All of the seasons are set in autumn-winter. It's a cozy mystery series following 3 unlikely friends, I guess. When you meet them, they are strangers. There's a murder in their building and it's classified as a suicide. They don't think it's a suicide, so they start investigating and decide to create a podcast around it. The characters are super quirky and lovable and relatable. The setting is beautiful. The apartment building and the apartments themselves, all of their clothes, it's just all amazing. It's set in New York City at the Arconia building. I feel like it just gets better and better each season. We now have a 3rd season coming out. I'm enjoying it more than ever. I mean, I finish watching the weekly episode and I go back to the beginning to rewatch the first season. I'm now doing a rewatch of the series while I'm actually still watching the new episodes coming out. I just cannot get enough, and it's like the 3rd time I'm rewatching it. I definitely recommend perfect cozy mystery series for autumn. Second recommendation, also a mystery series. It's the Afterparty. The mystery is intriguing. It's a kind of comedy style series, all about this detective that only has one night to figure out this mystery involving many characters at a party. They go to the high school reunion and then one of the guys invites a lot of old school friends and not friends to his house for an after party, and there is a murder. And this detective that's going to be taken off the case the next morning, she decides to just go ahead, keep everyone awake the whole night and just solve this murder. There's a bit of a romance and a few side plots. It's quite interesting and it's all set within that night. And a 2nd season has come out. I'm not sure if it's coming out every week, but I'm saving it for autumn because I basically want to watch it all in one go. It was a fun time. I binge watched it and I'm gonna do the same with the 2nd season probably. I decided to recommend a couple of kind of teenage urban fantasy series that I think are really great for autumn. I have 2. I mean, these are not amazing series. I really love the kind of teenage angsty series, the ones that have not a few seasons, you kind of binge watch it. It gives that atmosphere, but it doesn't bring that much to your life. I really like a little bit of ridiculous escapism sometimes, and Fate a Winx Saga is really good. Just mindless fantasy fun. It has that autumn vibe because it's set in a boarding school. It's a bit of a mystery. You follow these teenage girls as they're forming friendships and learning about themselves and learning magic, developing their skills. It's a good, fun time. I recommend it. There's obviously romance and angst. The animation TV show is such a classic that I used to watch when I was a kid, and it really brings those vibes. The second one is definitely perfect for autumn. It's a bit darker than a Winx saga, and that is Lockwood and Co. It only has one season for now. It came out this year and I'm not sure if they're going to renew it. So please go watch it, give it some love because it needs a second season. It is technically based on a series of books. It's an alternate history series, as if a few decades ago, ghosts started appearing and started being very violent, killing people. And the only people that can see the ghosts are kids and teenagers. The world starts training kids and teenagers to fight ghosts. There are these schools, which are more like companies where the kids work, but they call it kind of like schools and institutes. Enter this kind of very small institute, which the main guy is also a teenager. He decided to create his own little enterprise. He has his friend with him and they're interviewing for another person to join them. And this girl that she left her house and her terrible situation back home and came to London to look for work. The Lockwood, which is the main guy, he thinks she's going to be perfect for them. His friend is not that much on board. It's a dark story, but it still feels quite teenage and perfect for autumn as it deals with ghosts. It's quite good. I really enjoyed it. Watched it and rewatched it, and both times I thought it was the perfect series to watch in autumn. We then have A Discovery of Witches, which is also based on a series of books by the same name, which could also have been a recommendation. It is a fantasy story. In this world, you have witches, vampires, and demons. They're all kind of live separate lives. They don't intermingle that much, and they live side by side with humans, even though humans don't know it. And one day, our main character that has renounced her life as a witch, she's a professor slash scholar in Oxford, and she one day finds a manuscript that apparently the whole of the witch slash vampire slash demon society has been wanting to get their hands on it, and she just called it up from the library one day. She doesn't know it's a special manuscript. She looks at it and kind of interacts with it, but apparently then everyone knows that she has touched it, and they're all hunting for her, and she creates an alliance with this vampire, and from then blossoms a romance. It's a bit darker, a bit heavier, more dramatic. So my next recommendation is a bit the opposite. I really enjoy a mindless TV series, something that I can put in the background that helps me to relax. You have the classic Gilmore Girls, which is perfect. Amazing classic autumn TV show. A lot of autumn vibes, especially a few select episodes. It's amazing. It's a staple. Everyone knows about it. So the one I'm recommending is Good Witch. Yes, you can laugh at it, as I just did. It reminds me of Gilmore Girls. The magic is very much just kind of implied. It's not really something that you see happen. Actually, it was a series of films before it transformed into a TV show, so you can watch both, but I'm mostly focusing on the TV show here. It's about a witch that lives in this small town in her ancestor's house that she has renovated and is now a B&B. She loves making breakfast for all her guests. She is very much always trying to help them become better people. Every episode there's a new guest coming in, and at the same time you follow her life. She has a kid that also got a bit of her abilities, and her abilities are just that she knows when people are coming around the corner. She feels the struggles that they're going through, and so she is quite good at helping them out. It's nothing major, but it just gives a little bit of whimsy to the series. There's actually, the main character has a shop, which is the Bell Book and Candle, where she just sells all these quirky little things. It's just so heartwarming and lovely and slow paced, but it just makes me relax. Let's move on to the next one, which is an animation series, and that is Over the Garden Wall. There's nothing better than this little animation show. It's a mini series about these two half-brothers that get lost in the woods. They are helped and followed by this talking bird. They encounter many different people and adventures in these woods. They're going on this quest to find this witch that will help them get back home. It's the most autumnal, cozy thing you've ever heard about, and it's perfect. There's also another animation show, now that I'm thinking about it, which is Gravity Falls. It's technically set in summer. These twins are going to spend their summer with their great uncle in this small town in the United States in the middle of the woods. It's where we have Summerween from. I would also recommend for autumn, even though it's not set in autumn. We're now moving on to the film section of this video, finally. Starting with mysteries again. I have Gosford Park. Downton Abbey was supposed to be a sequel to Gosford Park, but they then changed it a bit. But what that means is that it has the same vibes as Downton Abbey. It's set in a big manor, a lot of guests are invited, and there's a murder, which then someone has to solve. It's a slow-moving story about the upstairs and downstairs people, and all of the secret dynamics, the relationships between characters. It's very much a character study of all of these people that are living and working and just guests at this house while they're trying to discover who the murderer is. It's very good. I highly recommend. But you have to enjoy slow-moving historical stories. If not, it's definitely not for you. I then recommend Enola Holmes. There's now 2 out. I do think that Enola Holmes and the first one and the second are just great for autumn. The whole almost a bit dark academia vibe of it, the characters, the setting, it's all just so quirky and lovely. I mean, it feels like autumn. It may not be set in autumn. I'm not 100% sure on that. I haven't given a synopsis. Let's get into that. Enola Holmes is about the sister of Sherlock Holmes and Mycroft Holmes. She is a lot younger than them, and she grew up with their mother in their manor estate in the countryside. Their dad had died, I guess, and her brothers were already adults, so she was raised by her mother, which was steadily becoming a bit crazier and too free living in that house in the countryside. So she learns a lot of quirky, not necessarily expected for girls. She's great at solving mysteries, and she definitely understands her mother very well. So when her mother just up and leaves on Enola Holmes' I think 14th birthday, Enola vows that she's going to discover what the hell happened to her mother, and we just follow along. The second movie follows Enola as she's solving a mystery, kind of together with Sherlock Holmes. Both are really good. and have amazing vibes for autumn. Then still on the mystery genre, going to recommend Murder on the Orient Express and the new one, A Haunting in Venice. I haven't watched the new one. Murder on the Orient Express is perfect because it's a mystery set in winter. You have all these people in a train where there's a murder and they are stopped due to a maybe landslide, and so they're stuck there, and Detective Poirot is also on the train trying to solve this murder. So he's interviewing everyone, and it really has that historical cold feeling about the whole thing. It's really good. The new one, obviously being inspired by Halloween Party by Agatha Christie, is obviously perfect for autumn and Halloween. I know it has to do with seances. It sounds quite creepy. I'm actually a little bit scary to watch it, but I think, as the other two have been, it's going to be a great movie. So I'm excited for that one. I could mention Hocus Pocus. The Hocus Pocus 2 was a fun time last year. Haunted Mansion, I had a good time with this year, also recommend. But I'm going to talk about Practical Magic. I've talked about the books in this video, and I think the movie is also amazing. Super atmospheric. I wish I could live in their house. So this book follows two sisters that have a curse. There's a curse in their family, which is their loves always die. Their mother died of a broken heart after their father died. They now live with their aunts. The main character has two kids and her husband has died a few years ago. The start of a book especially is introducing us to their whole situation, what happened to them. When we actually get to the plot of the film is when her sister's new boyfriend, after they say I love you to each other, the boyfriend dies. So they kind of have to cover it up. And there's this detective in town that's trying to find this guy that died, and they buried him in their garden. And now there's the detective knocking on their door, wondering where he is. On one side, they have to turn him away, but on the other side, our main character is slowly falling in love with him, even though she has relatively recently lost her husband to this curse, and she knows that the curse is definitely real because she has had experience with it. So she doesn't want to drag another person into it. It's a great movie. I highly recommend you watch it. It's amazing. I then have a bit of a more dark academia, which is Mona Lisa's Smile. This is a very good movie for autumn. I know a lot of people recommend That Poet's Society, also a good recommendation, but Mona Lisa's Smile is the feminist version of that movie. It follows a teacher that doesn't really have a lot of qualifications, but has gotten a job in this school for girls, and she's going to be the new art history teacher. It's the 50s in America, so they're all being groomed to be wives. And this new teacher, she's not a wife, she doesn't want to be a wife, and she has many thoughts about independence. So she really has a specific teaching style that doesn't really go along with what the school values are and what these young women have been taught for years. So it's really a movie about character development and their relationships all together. You see a few of the classes, how this new teacher coming into the school affects these women's lives. We then have a kind of creepy comedy, which is Dark Shadows. I haven't really heard a lot of people recommending it. It's a Tim Burton movie with Johnny Depp. And I'm going to talk about this one, but obviously I'll recommend any of his other ones. There's obviously Corpse Bride, The Nightmare Before Christmas, Sleepy Hollow, Sweeney Todd, Edward Scissorhands, let me see a few others. I mean, even Alice in Wonderland would be good for autumn, but I think I'm recommending the most Halloweeny of them all, which is Dark Shadows. I haven't watched it since it came out, really, in 2012. I was scared in the cinema, I have to say. And it's based in television soap opera of this same name, but it follows a vampire and this family of creepy people. Honestly, I don't remember much more. Let me read what I found here about the plot. In 1760, young Barnabas Collins and his wealthy family set sail from Liverpool to the New World, and they established themselves in the town of Collinsport in Maine, where they build their whole mansion and grand estate. 15 years later, Barnabas spurns the advances of his servant, who is secretly a witch, and in response she murders his parents using magic and curses Barnabas so that all his loves will die. Barnabas becomes obsessed with dark magic to prove that his parents were murdered, but he becomes a vampire. In 1972, almost 200 years later, Maggie Evans, who bears an uncanny resemblance to Barnabas' fiancée, travels to Collinwood to fill the position of governess the descendants of Barnabas live. For some reason, they open Barnabas' tomb, and here we have the vampire awake again, living with the descendants of his family, and shenanigans ensue because obviously this person that came to town is a bit sketchy, things happen, it's creepy, it's funny, it's a great Halloweeny time, and obviously you know it's going to be good because it's Tim Burton. I highly recommend it. Another great recommendation, Addams Family. Watch Addams Family. That's a great one. All of the content out there for Addams Family would be great for autumn, obviously. The new movies are great. Also Wednesday, obviously, the new series. Now that I've mentioned Addams Family in all of their adaptations and shapes and forms, I'm going to be moving into the kids animation and non-animation inspired content, starting with The Witches by Roald Dahl, which is a classic kids book that was adapted to film. I haven't really heard a lot of people talking about this, but I really enjoyed it. It's about this kid that lives with his grandmother because his parents died, and this grandmother knows about witches, and she has kind of always prepared him to be aware of that and be careful because witches hate kids. One day, there's, I think, a new witch in town, and so his grandmother packs up their things and they go on holiday. But the hotel they go to is actually where they're going to be hosting a convention for witches. He pretty quickly gets turned into a rat, as are a few other kids with him. And they then have to stop the witches with the help of his grandma. It's a really good time. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was better than the second Hocus Pocus movie. We then have a few staples that I've watched a few times. First of all is Paranorman. There's also Frankenweenie by Tim Burton, which is an animation one, but I'm going to be mostly talking about Paranorman. The studios that made this also made the Box Trolls, which are also another good movie for autumn time. Paranorman is about an 11-year-old boy that speaks with the dead. I don't remember all of the details, but I know there's a school play involved. He has a vision. Things start happening in the town, and he amasses a little group of friends to help him stop what's going on in the town. It's a kind of heartwarming story about friendship. People not believing that he has these powers, but actually then he's obviously the only one that can stop what's happening because he's the one with powers. It's a really great animation movie. You should also check Box Trolls? Troll boxes? No, Box Trolls. Definitely Box Trolls. And finally, to round up this video, I have a very, very, very whimsical story about selkies. There's this animation studio that really plays with Irish legends, and they have this amazing animation and illustration style. If you've never heard of it, I would recommend you start with this one, which was the first one released, and that is the Song of the Sea, which follows a little boy and his sister live in this lighthouse in the middle of the ocean. The Irish seas are quite volatile and they're very isolated. They live there with their parents, but their mother died when she was giving birth to the little girl, and the dad was never quite the same. One day they have to leave the island and they go on a quest because they didn't really know, but they then discover, I'm not sure if you know from the start, their mother was a selkie. In case you don't know, a selkie is a seal that transforms into a person. It's from Irish legend. So the boy is like, I'm the older sibling, I'm gonna take care of my little selkie sister, and I think there's something wrong with the magic. So they go on this quest to try and save the magic, and consequentially saving the little girl. And it's just so whimsical and amazing. They go to the city and they encounter, which they're not used to because they've always lived by the sea in the middle of nature. They go into a forest. It's amazing. Oh my god, it's amazing. It's next level. You have to watch it. They then have come out with two other ones. One that has to do with the forest, and one which is, I think, about Vikings and the forest again. It's, oh my gosh, it's amazing. You have to go watch it. I really hope you enjoyed all the recommendations and that there was at least one that you can add to your own list of things to watch this season. My watch list is growing quite quickly with every video that I watch from any other person. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you watch till the end, leave me some extra recommendations downstairs because I would love to have my list grow even longer. And yeah, we'll see each other in my next video. And thank you so much for being here. Bye!